welcome to this week's podcast of Love Needs No Words. Today we're joined by award-winning author Val Jones, who wrote the book Bear, A Story of Autism and Difference. Welcome, Val.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for inviting me. Really excited to have a little chat about Bear and all things autism.
Amazing. I mean, first of all, I just want to say that Kirsty and I have been reading the book to the boys, and it's so heartwarming and lovely, and just a wonderful book to introduce to bedtime. So thank you for that.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. I'm so glad your boys like Bear.
Yeah, Max really likes Bear. We were reading it before bed tonight, actually.
Aw.
He likes his head.
I think that's an important part of Bear.
Bear's got a beautiful brain, Max.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's part of the message there. That patchwork patch on Bear's head. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess the best place to start is, how you got into writing, and specifically this book about Bear and autism. And for the listeners, can you just give a little taster about what the book's all about?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's a little bit by accident, really. I was working as an advisory teacher, and in doing that role, I would go into schools to talk about autism, sometimes to classes of children. And often that will be junior age children or secondary school age children. And I had developed sort of a little repertoire of assemblies for those ages. But then one day I was asked by a school to do a whole Autism Awareness Day, which was very exciting. And this was a primary school, and they wanted lessons for every single class, which meant that I was going to be going into Key Stage 1 as well. So reception, year 1, year 2. And I was thinking, well, how am I going to teach younger children about autism? Because the assemblies that I had just felt like they were just a little bit, little bit beyond the right way to approach it for younger children. So also as an advisory teacher, along the same time, I was supporting secondary age students with autism. And, you just start the one-to-one session with a little conversation of how's things going, whatever, talking about what they're doing, what they're interested in, and hoping they ask you some questions as well in that conversation development. And so in some of those times, I would say, I'm, trying to work on this school Autism Awareness Day, and I'm going to be doing a presentation for Key Stage 1 children. And I said, I'm just really struggling for ideas of how to teach about autism to younger children. And then lo and behold, one day, one of the young people says, well, why don't you do it about a bear? Little children love bears. And I thought, what a great idea. I'll go with that. So, yeah, and that's kind of how Bear started, is I then wrote an assembly based about a bear with autism, which was, once I'd finished it, I have to say, that was pretty much the bear story that you're reading now, with some changes once the book came about. And I kind of did know at that time it was a story that could be developed into a book. But admittedly, autism advisory work's quite busy, to say the least. Yeah. And it just carried on as an assembly for several years, about 7 years as an assembly instead of a picture book. But then COVID came, and a friend of mine took some time out and wrote a picture book herself and self-published it, and then kind of said, well, when are you going to get Bear out there? And I'm like, now? So that kind of started the whole system rolling, because I then had a friend who could kind of support me through the process as well.
Yeah.
So helpful.
So that was really, really helpful. So that's how Bear came about. Originally a school assembly, but I'm really excited that Bear's out there now for everybody to see and to share. So a little bit about the book. Well, really, it's about celebrating who you are, whatever your needs might be. And yes, it features a patchwork bear with autism, also a non-gendered bear with autism. That was a deliberate choice by myself, because I wanted the bear to be as accessible as possible to any child, whatever their choice of gender might be. So made a very clear choice not to use pronouns in the story. And that was so that, you know, a boy could relate to Bear, a girl could relate to Bear, and a non-gendered young person could relate to Bear, adults of any gender could relate to Bear. So yeah, that's how it kind of came about. Yeah, and Bear really just celebrates who you are, as you are, just
Yeah.
as you are.
It really does do that. I've found that just through reading it just over the past week. And it's interesting because Alex still just says a handful of words, so I give him options a lot of the time. So I've always given the option of 3 books, and he's chosen Bear with Autism for the last week. So that's really interesting to me. So he's making that choice to read the book. So it must mean a lot to him that we're reading it. So yeah,
Oh,
thank
that's
you very much
really
for that.
lovely. I love hearing stories like that, you know, or you know, somebody saying, you know, they take the Bear book to bed, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so glad it's making a difference, because I mean that's the whole point, really, is
Especially
to just
because
share that message of positivity, that it's okay to be you.
Yeah.
absolutely, and especially because it was just an assembly book for so long, to now know that it's a published book and children are reading it and gaining so much from it, that must be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I'm so happy it's out there. I'm so glad my friend Anna kicked me in the butt.
Sometimes it just takes like a little bit of something, doesn't it, though, just to kind of spur you on to do it. Similarly, when we were reading it this evening, we read it once, and then I was like, do you want to read it again, Max? He was like, yeah. And again and again and again. And I was like, we have to draw a line somewhere, but it's great that you're loving reading it. Yes, there's obviously something in it that they just and I think the messages are really straightforward as well. There's not loads of additional information in there, that it's really kind of just poignant, I think. Every point has a purpose. So much, I guess, is about sharing information about autism. And I was reading the kind of information at the back of the book. For some reason Max wanted me to read that bit to him as well. So I read
there's words there.
Your biography. So I know you've got such a huge career in you know, psychology and all sorts of different things that are related into autism, and I guess sharing information about it's kind of something that you're really passionate about. We obviously share that feeling as well, which is exactly why we're doing this podcast. Was that kind of what you hoped to achieve from doing the book, or did you just kind of I don't know, did you just hope to spread the message?
Absolutely. I was really hoping the book would spread the message about autism and more, really. I mean, my hope in the way that it's written on different levels, and it's written on a level for children to teach them about autism, for children who might be autistic themselves to understand themselves, for other children or siblings to learn about autism, for parents to learn about autism, young people, adults. It really is intended to have a message at different levels, and intended to have that overarching message of inclusion for all, just as they are.
Have you found like there's a certain age point where children start to read it and think, oh, that sounds like me?
Yeah, but I think because autism is so varied, you know, with each individual, their autism is unique to them. So I've found that I've read the story with children who are, say, you know, 9, 10, and they're saying, oh, that sounds a bit like me. But then I've also read it with secondary age students, 13, 14 as well, and they're saying the same, oh, that sounds like me. I'm just like there. So I think, you know, and my hope was as well, is that the book's wider than just a young child's picture book. That it can be accessible to a range of different ages and needs.
It's amazing. I mean, I think a big message I got throughout the book was about acceptance, and that it's okay to be different. And I think even the small time that Kirsty and I have been part of the world of autism, things are changing. But with books like yours, hopefully being different becomes more celebrated rather than being seen as weird or a bad thing. Have you seen a shift during your time, even just from this book?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been kind of in the autism field and interest area for a very long time, so I have definitely seen a shift over the years. And it has improved awareness of autism, in schools and in the wider community is getting better than it used to be, but I do still think there's a lot to do. I still see it in the shops when I can feel for a parent when somebody's staring at their child who might be playing up a bit, and I'm just thinking that child might very well be autistic there, and if we increase knowledge across the wider community, I think that can improve things for all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think for me, what's so lovely is, well, we're reading it because we, either have children or potentially have children who are autistic. But it's like, how do you get the message out there for parents who have, neurotypical children to read the book as well, so that their children then better understand their peers, because both our children are going to mainstream school like in 2 weeks' time. So there's they're going to be amongst children who are neurotypical, and it's helping them also understand. So it's important not just for us to read it to our children so that they better understand themselves and feel that they're accepted and they're wonderful for who they are, but also it's getting the message the other way, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's always really nice when some parents might buy 2 or 3 copies of the book, and they'll give a copy to the child's class teacher, and they'll give a copy to the child's therapist, speech and language therapist, occupational therapist, or member of the CAMS team or a pediatrician. I mean, that's always really great, because it's building that circle around the child, that team around the child, and raising everybody's awareness. So yeah, I'm happy when I see in the book shared within schools as well, within the education community and speech and language therapists.
Like you say, it's just building that knowledge, isn't it, in all areas, really. I mean, in the book, you focus on some of the key traits of autism that you must have picked up over your career. For example, specialist interest, noise avoidance, the feeling of certain clothes. You covered quite a wide range, which I was really impressed with. Was it important to you to get in as many elements as possible to maybe explain why an autistic child might feel a certain way?
Yeah, well, I mean, because each person's autism is unique to them, it was a bit tricky to choose, which features I might highlight in the book. But what I did draw upon is my knowledge and experience over the years of key features that I do see that come up, more often than others. And so I tried to highlight some of those particular features, like, as you mentioned, noise sensitivity, but also like being perhaps fussy with food, clothing sensitivity and textures, and maybe not like being bumped or touched. So I brought in quite a few of the sensory sides, but also the special interest, intense interest, and sometimes perhaps the behaviors like excited flapping. So I added that as well. So yeah, trying to find a balance as well with some of the positives and strengths for individuals on the autism spectrum, like noticing details, fine details that others might miss. So yeah, getting a balance of trying to explain autism, but also celebrate it at the same time, celebrate being unique and being yourself.
That's amazing.
Have you thought about doing it for other areas of neurodiversity by any chance? Has anyone floated that idea with you, Val?
Well, possibly. Okay, so yeah, I guess there's a little bit of a story there. I'm developing other bear books, so there is now 2. There's Bear and the Lost Tooth as well, that kind of develops Bear's character a little bit more and introduces their bear as the parent bear, always there for you bear. And it's really about a story of change and loss and grief, and how Bear struggles with that concept of losing a tooth and that difference within Bear. And it's how their bear also helps and supports Bear in going through that journey of self-discovery. So that book focuses on the change aspect. Now, there's a third book on the way as well. It's called, and this is new news here, so this is exclusive. I haven't announced the title yet. This is the first time. So, Bear, Bobbin, and the Winter Festival, and it introduces Bear's friend Bobbin. Now, Bobbin has some sensory processing needs in the sense that Bobbin is a blind character within the story and their friends, and the story focuses on their friendship within the winter festival period and how they support each other. So that's drawing in another area of need, which crosses into sensory processing. And yeah, you know, perhaps in future there might be other neurodiverse aspects drawing into other characters, but yeah, it's a process, I guess, that's developing. And you know, I'm so glad to be here talking with you, because this is yet another way to try to spread the word and the message.
Absolutely.
So I kind of feel like it's a cascade.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm really interested in the Lost Tooth one, actually, because I haven't read that one yet, but the whole concept of change actually is really prevalent at the moment for us, both of us, because our children are moving from nursery school onto school. And so, that change, I know for me personally in our household, that change is something that's we're navigating at the moment. So actually that's a really nice idea, actually, that I can kind of bring the next story in for him as well, because it's so difficult, isn't it, to know exactly what a young person's going to take from the book, because obviously they'll hear it and interpret it in their own way. But Max was really interested in all the pictures, and I was asking him as well, because Max is quite sensitive to sound, and he's not he actually is really doesn't like other children kind of bumping into him. He finds that quite difficult to process. So I was asking him, do you think that seems like you, Max? To some of the points he was like, no. But I said, do you like loud noises? And he said, no, I don't like loud noises. So it's a really good one to kind of start getting some feedback, and I guess seeing what he recognizes about himself and what he kind of identifies as things that he finds more challenging.
I don't think there's anything better than like being able to relate to a character in a story.
Absolutely.
I just think just growing up, when I used to read certain stories, and now looking back, I think my mum might have selected certain books that, you know, because I had quite high anxiety, and when you'd read a book and you could relate to that character, it just it gave you so much security, because you didn't feel alone anymore. So I'm intrigued to see as they get older what they make of the book, and it's going to be interesting. So your book won the International Book Awards last year for the category Children's Non-Fiction Picture Book. I mean, what was that like?
Well, it was quite a shock, but a really good shock, and I was so excited, because again, it's another avenue, you know, to help people become aware of the story and become aware of autism, and to promote, you know, inclusion and acceptance for all. So I was very excited and happy about that. It was also recognized in the education department category as well, because the book has a number of worksheets that can be used alongside the story that can be downloaded from the Bear Autism website. So that it was nice to get that recognition for the book, and to help promote its overarching message.
Out of interest, how long did it take to write the book?
Okay, so if I'm completely honest, the story itself probably took me about an hour, but it's the rest of it, you know, that it when I actually came to actually producing the book, because I self-published it, it took a long time, because then I went back and looked at the text, and I tweaked little words to just add maybe a little bit more rhythm in some points, and then, you know, carefully selecting and thinking, okay, you know, which word should I use here or there? Even the difference between like words like for or to, and I labored over some little choices like that because it makes a big difference, really. To me, it did anyway. And I had to make the choice, and you might have noticed my accent isn't quite British. And I was thinking, well, do I write American spellings, or do I put the English spellings, or even the American words, because like favorite in America is O-U-R. I mean, O-R, and in the UK it's O-U-R. And so I had to make that choice, and I put O-U-R. So I thought, well, I'm living in the UK. I should use the UK spellings. But yeah, there was a lot to it in just the text, but then also in developing the pictures. And I worked with the most wonderful artist on that, Leanne Coelho, and she was just absolutely fantastic. And that was really just a stroke of luck, because this was through my friend Anna, who had written her own picture book, and her picture book is called Ted, the Sea, and Me, and it's about emotions. And Leanne Coelho had illustrated her book, and I had just loved the illustrations that Leanne had created in that book. And I just thought, that's where I'm going to start. I'm just going to ask Leanne if, she's interested. So, yeah, I got in contact and said, hey, look, here's this story. What do you think? And she was really interested and really up for it. And so I said, well, yeah, let's do some illustrations. And she came up with, the gorgeous design for Bear, which with the patchwork on the head from, some of the first images. And it just totally highlighted exactly what I was hoping for.
So brings it to life, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that was a bit different and unique about Bear, the rainbow patchwork was pretty much spot on, and just that sort of gentle little quirky face, and it was just like you just want to cuddle Bear.
Yeah,
and all the other bears as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I like that bear, and I like that bear.
Oh. What about the one that's always going like this?
Loves all the bears. She's totally brought it to life. It's amazing how an illustrator can just read a story, which I'm assuming at that point is just kind of text, and then just build this picture in their mind. It's incredible. What a skill to have.
Oh, absolutely. And I deliberately just sent it to her as text, even though I had some ideas in my own head at the time, because I just wanted her to take it and to come up with her own ideas of how she perceived it from the text that was there. And then from there we tweaked it, and we added little details and things like, Bear doesn't like wearing shoes, so let's have the shoes landing in all sorts of little random places for the children to find. And then we added some little links to my friend Anna Granger's book, Ted, the Sea, and Me, for children who have both. Can they find the links to the books? And then there's like a little secret link to Bear and the Lost Tooth, where there's something in this book that's in some pictures and not in others, which is just a little hint, but it's kind of hard to find. It's an amazing hunt the difference, but sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not, and it absolutely links to the next book, Bear and the Lost Tooth. So putting those little quirky fun bits as well was added to the joy of doing the book, but also in some ways, the going back and forth, it meant it took quite a long time to get it just so. So yes, writing the story was short, but then the development and the process took longer, and then there was the printing as well, and kind of I had to learn a bit of tech fairly quickly. I didn't know anything about Photoshop at all, and suddenly I found myself on Photoshop putting my text on the pages. And yes, you could pay somebody else to do that, but I thought, well, I'm just going to learn how to do this. And Leanne Coelho was great with some of that as well, because she gave me a few little pointers as well, which helped so much, because I just didn't have a clue. I had never used Photoshop before at all, and now I'm using it all the time. So it's quite an adventure.
Was the size of the book deliberate as well? Because obviously it's quite a nice sized book. Yeah.
So again, I'll show you the other book. So this is Ted, the Sea, and Me. And I just loved, that the pictures go across 2 pages.
Yeah.
And by doing the book sort of A4 but sideways, you could get huge double spreads, which I thought were really nice for children to, to follow an image all the way across both pages, which you don't get if you have a book that's opens the other way.
Yes.
If the book opens this way, you don't get as wide of a spread at all.
Yeah, no, it really works.
So it was a deliberate choice, yes.
Yeah, it looks great.
The colours are really calming as well when you read it, which is ideal for bedtime.
Yeah, it really is good for bedtime.
Yeah, again, and that was, sort of deliberate conversation between Leanne and myself as well, kind of explaining that I didn't really want Bear to, to be super bright, and I didn't want the pages to be super busy because I didn't want that to create too much of a distraction for children on the autism spectrum. So the tones are slightly muted throughout the story. And that was deliberate to try to be supportive of children with autism.
And have you published it in the US as well, or just the UK?
So it is published and printed here in the UK. It was printed by Welsh Pool Print Group. I am selling it in America, so it is available on Amazon in America or through my bearautism.com website, so people in other countries can get the book through Amazon or bearautism.com.
Amazing. And what has the response been like from parents and just children alike?
Yeah, so it's been really positive. I mean, as we kind of mentioned earlier, one of the great joys of writing a story is when you hear about how children have embraced it, about a child taking the book to bed and cuddling it because Bear is just like me, it's just like, oh, or, a child dresses up as Bear for World Book Day. It's just like, oh, that's just made my day. Parents who have been excited to, find a book that they felt expressed, information about autism in a way that was accessible to children, but also celebrating them as they are. Because there are a lot of books out there now. It's a growing library of books on autism, but it's about trying to find the one that's right for you and right for your child. And so when parents have found Bear, it's been so nice when they, reach out to me and send a little message and say, oh, it's just been so good, to read Bear with my child, and they've identified with Bear, and it's helped them to feel good about themselves, and that's so important to me.
Yeah, it's just really important in general, isn't there? Because there's a lot, a lot of the stuff that I read is that there's a lot of messages that that they're faced with that are not always on the positive side of things.
Yeah, and I don't even, I think, sometimes that's unintentional.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that can be about word choice or something, within what was written in the text, and it's so tricky. I mean, sometimes I even think, well, should I have used the word difference? I don't know, but it's trying to find a way to express, okay, we are all a little bit different, but that's okay. So in the end, I concluded, yes, I was going to use the word different or difference, but it's still really hard to get the message across still in a way that celebrates an individual at the same time.
But it's saying, isn't it, you might
courage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's saying you might feel different, but then that's okay. Like, let's celebrate that rather than that's the message I get anyway when I read through it. So, and you've got a background, haven't you, in autism? So how did that help when sort of writing the book? Maybe talk a bit about that as well.
Yeah, so I had an interest in autism from a very young age, in high school in America, which carried on through psychology and then into teaching. And I was a special needs teacher, then an autism teacher, and then an autism advisory teacher. So, my professional career is really focused in on autism just because I was so interested in it. But it really has kind of helped in writing the story because of all the different experiences that I've had with children and parents and families, carers, grandparents, and their support network, their therapists, speech and language therapists over the years. And so it was trying to get that message across in a way that both teaches people about autism, but also children can engage with themselves and feel good about themselves for being who they are.
Do you think that's improving? Do you think, because I know, we talked a little bit, we touched on it earlier, but it's obviously been a bit of a journey over the years, and I imagine, for some parents, maybe even listening, their experience for their child might be slightly different to where we currently are at the moment. That might be quite difficult for them. Do you think it's do you think we're like heading in a positive direction?
Well, I certainly hope that we're moving in the right direction. I do, like many people, get a little bit frustrated when I hear about funding and that, there's not enough, or, children are missing out on perhaps treatment or, therapy that might be helpful to them. But I do think we're moving in the right direction. That's I do good. Think awareness is increasing across the wider community. But still hoping it's going to keep going upwards. And
as are we, Val.
and not get sort of knocked back, by the current government when they say, oh, it's even worse than we thought, so there's going to be even less money. I'm just like, please, let's, support young people, support children, because it's getting support in early that makes the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you noticed that throughout your career that's been has made such a huge pivotal difference to?
Yeah, it makes a huge difference to get the educational support in, and the therapy, speech and language, occupational therapy, or whatever other therapy a child might benefit from. Play therapy sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so early years all the way. Get in early, get the support.
Absolutely. And on that note, what would be your aim for the book? Like, looking forward, what do you hope to achieve?
Well, I just hope that it helps generally just raise awareness across the board. With children, with young people, with adults, anywhere that Bear travels, trying to develop other ways to raise awareness of Bear as well, and Bear's inclusive message. And so recently I got myself a Giphy account, and I know it was a little bit of a journey, but so if you search Giphy and you search for Bear Autism, you'll find an account, and there's some stickers on there, bear stickers, and there's also some gifts on there. There's also the tooth berry from the second book. It is present, as is Dino.
Aww.
So there's a little selection developing, or if you go into like a messaging app and you search gifts and just type in Bear Autism, or search a sticker and type in Bear Autism, some of them will pop up along with other things as well. I can't guarantee what else pops up, but you'll see some of Bear, and it's moving close to 500,000 views now, which is staggering to me. Amazing. And I'm just like, it doesn't mean that people have actually used those images, but 500,000 people have seen Bear popping up on their screen. That's great news, I think.
Amazing. Yeah. Is Bear going to become some merchandise, Val, that we can purchase at some point?
I keep hoping. Always open to suggestions of how I might do this. So anybody out there who's watching this, if you know of a way that I can actually afford to make a Bear stuffy, that would be amazing, because this is my own little kind of self-funded venture of inclusivity and sending out messages about autism and acceptance and appreciation and inclusion. But really, I would love to add a Bear stuffy to that collection. But Yeah.
I bet there are so many children that would also love a bear stuffy.
Yeah, come on, guys. There must be
present
someone that can
or
help.
a birthday present.
Yeah. So I've got a lovely little model you can see behind me there, of a stuffed bear, but it's about mass producing it and how to go about funding that and getting it out there and making sure it's safe and meets all the regulations as well. So yeah, if you know of somebody or anybody who's listening has some ideas there, please get in touch, because I would love to add to the merchandise. There is some merchandise already available. There's like bear
mug Val showing right now.
A few other ones back there as well. There's like celebrating all bears just as they are. There's one of the messages on one of them. So yeah, there's a few other little bits and stickers, bear stickers.
Also, when I got the book through the post, it was so beautifully packaged, and it was so wonderful, because it wasn't just a book that arrived. There was a message from you, which was so nice, and you'd handwritten my name on it, which was really sweet, and a poster which we're going to put up on Max's wall, which was really lovely. I think you say it's a poster or wrapping paper, am I right?
It can be either, but
it's so lovely. It's really lovely. And there was a piece of paper in there where your child can draw
one of the sample
bear and what bear means to them. It was just lovely. It was just Val, you've gone over and above. It wasn't just a book that arrived in the post.
Oh, that's
so nice.
Good. Yeah,
but again, really it's glad. A story. It's not just the story of Bear, is it? It's the whole story as to why you did this, how Bear arrived, and it was lovely.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. The gift wrap was a really great idea, or poster, and I just love that it's got Bear, in so many different emotions. So it's showing Bear happy, it's showing Bear excited, it's showing Bear, sad, it's showing Bear frustrated. And I think that, that's life. We experience all these different emotions, and it's meant to be there as a talking point, as, look, here's Bear in the book. Can you find Bear on the paper? What's Bear doing? How's Bear feeling?
That's something we're really working with Max on, is understanding emotions and what emotions look like and such like. So that would be brilliant, actually, to have a picture that we could relate him to say, oh, look, what does Bear look like? Does Bear look happy, or does Bear look sad?
So if you go onto the Bear Autism website and look through some of the worksheets that you can download, the activity sheets, there's one there on emotions where you match the word to the image of Bear, so it might kind of link to what you're saying there.
Perfect.
I think there's also one that I've linked a bit to the zones of regulation. I think it's got emotions labeled underneath it as well, so that might be worth downloading too.
That's really good, because actually Max's school used that as well, so we've been sent that through as kind of documentation, stuff that we can read, that we can look at and start trying to obviously get him more familiar with what's to come. So I know they use zones of regulation. I'm literally looking at it now in a pile of paper that's been sent through from school.
So I've done a little sheet with Bear with kind of different feeling zones as well, so that kind of does link to that loosely.
Okay, there we go. No, we're doing straight after this.
As it happens, the third book's got some links within it, kind of, to some of the colors from the zones a bit too, because there's like some thought bubbles going on, and they're colored similarly in some cases to the zone. So because of the feelings that are going on in Bear's thoughts or memories. So just another little bit of interest there for when book 3 comes out, which I hope is very soon. It's just really
I hope it's really soon.
It's literally already just about to be sent to the printers, but there's a few little bits I'm tweaking.
So exciting.
That goes back to an earlier question. It's a lot of work sometimes, just getting the final bits done. You think it's done, and then it's like, oh, that could be a little bit better if.
You've got so much experience as well. It must be really difficult to be able to consolidate it and bring it down to a concise kind of message, because I guess, you know, throughout your career you've been exposed to so much, you've seen so much, you've worked with so many different children, and obviously yeah, I mean, you spoke about it, but trying to know what to put in the book, because every child
is different.
Exactly, is different, and so yeah, well done, because I don't know how you've taken all of that huge amount of knowledge and put it into your story.
Yeah, thank you. I was just trying to choose what I felt were key talking points, I hope, for parents. And even if, you know, a parent's reading the book with their child and say perhaps they don't mind noise, it's still a talking point.
Yeah,
of course it is.
And I think also
other children might not like noise.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also it's really useful for, you know, we were talking about other people who have maybe neurotypical children, reading that to their children to you know, increase their understanding and hopefully make, you know, things more inclusive. But those kind of topics are topics that their children will definitely see, because they're often quite visible things that they'll maybe have noticed that their friend in the classroom maybe doesn't like noise, or you know, takes their shoes off. It's things that other children can see, whereas, you know, some of the other side traits of autism maybe aren't as, you know, recognizable to younger children.
Yeah, and some of that took a little bit more explaining in the story as well, like, you know, sometimes Bear says things that are inappropriate, you know, or aren't very kind, and so, you know, that's in the story, but it's trying to find a way to do that in a way that younger children would understand. And I think Bear sort of makes a, you know, comment about another bear's picture.
Yeah, I was just thinking then I'm going to purchase one for Alex's classroom, because when I went in there last time, a little girl tried to make conversation with him, and I've mentioned it in the podcast before, and I went over and I said, Alex doesn't talk yet, but he loves hugs. And then she said, Alex, can I have a hug? And they had this hug.
Aww.
And then she was just with him the rest of the time, but he was sort of showing her what he wanted to be done. And if the teacher then said, Alex has got something called autism, there's a book here that you can read that will give you a bit of a better understanding. I mean, how amazing is that it's there at her fingertips to read? And even for Isabel, my daughter, and I'm sure it was the same for Kirsty's daughter, as they grow older, having a book that explains why their brother does certain things. I mean, how wonderful.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I was just thinking from that example you were sharing there as well. Some parents have made like little pegs of Bear and some of the other bears as well, and brought them into school for the children to play with, so that they can do, like, you know, little conversations or, you know, role play with the peg bears. And I thought, what a lovely idea.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You know, for classroom activities for the early years is bringing Bear right into the class.
When we were reading it this evening, because my son isn't diagnosed yet, he's currently on the pathway for a diagnosis, so I'm quite careful in what I kind of say to him, because at the moment it's, you know, we don't have a firm confirmation that he is you know, definitely autistic. So I was actually reading it to him, and I was talking about Alex, because they go to nursery together. And so I was relating it to Alex, which was and Max really liked that. So and there's another little girl who also goes to their nursery that Max knows as well. So I was kind of I thought, well, let's use this as an opportunity for him to to start to understand, because his peers around him, because he does know that, you know, if I speak to Max about Alex, he tells me that Alex doesn't talk, so he does know, like, he does recognize certain things, and, you know, in the same way other children will recognize things about, you know, Max. But it was lovely to
thanks, Kirsty.
To bring it to life.
And if that just fills me with joy, because I just think if at such a young age they're understanding that those traits are autism, it's not because they're weird and they might be different, but it's because they have something called autism. And can you imagine children going around, you know, as soon as they get that understanding, saying, oh, Alex does this because he has autism? I mean, that would be incredible, you know. I just think it's amazing.
That's really nice. had some parents relate back to me about, children in class saying bear's still a bear and reading the story over again, and I'm just like, oh. So I really like it when I hear phrases that have come from the book being repeated out and about, or just as they are.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That is really wonderful. Finally, where can people purchase the book and find more information about what you do, Val?
Okay, yeah. So the best place to find more information is on the bearautism.com website. And there you can purchase both books. And very soon I will put the third book up for pre-order once I know it's at the printers. And there you can also find the worksheets to download, of which I'm developing others as well that I'll be adding to the collection at some point. So yeah, the bearautism.com website is where you can find a lot more information. And then also you can find information on Amazon, because I've got an author profile for Val Jones on Amazon. So you'll find both books, Bear, A Story of Autism and Difference, and Bear and the Lost Tooth on Amazon. You can also get the books from Waterstones, or you can approach any other bookstore and request that they order it should you wish. So lots of different ways to get a Bear book.
Amazing. And we'll put the link up on our Instagram as well. And Kirsty and I can vouch for the fact that it's a wonderful book. And
thank you.
Book. Yeah.
I think of it as a team effort, really, because my friend Anna helped edit it as well, and Leanne's illustrations just made the world of difference as well in bringing Bear to life. So very much a joint effort in getting the message across.
And we must mention as well, Leanne created our icon for Love Needs No Words.
She did.
I thought so when I seen it, because it had that little bit of Leanne character to it, and it was like her writing as well, her writing style, plus the color choices, the different colored letters, and I just thought, Leanne's designed that logo.
Yeah, she did. So we can't thank her enough for that, because it just hit everything we were looking for. So
it brought our podcast to life, really, didn't it?
It did bring our podcast to life. Yeah,
it's lovely.
We just need a little bear symbol in the corner now.
There you go. If you'd like a copy of the bear logo, you're more than welcome.
Oh, Val, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah, I'm just so happy to be able to share that inclusive message of acceptance for all, just as they are.
Thanks so much, Val. Take care. Cheers. She's got her bear mug up. We're going to have to purchase one of these.
I love it.
Yeah.
Val, I'm always drinking tea throughout this podcast. Okay, I don't know if anyone's ever noticed, but I'm always drinking tea. So maybe I need to get myself a bear mug.
Guess what I'm getting you for Christmas, Kirst?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I'll be very happy.
So some of the merchandise is available through Instagram or the bearautism.com website. So there you go if you want any of the extra merchandise. Amazon just has the books.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so good talking to you.
Take care.